Osho stories. The speaking well. You have everything that you need. God never sends anybody as a beggar into the world. Use your mind as the servant and continuously remember that the mind has to be retired one day. When the mind is retired completely, the world disappears. Then there is no coming back to the world. That's what Hindus call the stopping of the cycle of birth and death. When one is absolutely awakened, that awareness has no birth and no death. It is eternity. Use the mind. Step on the mind. Let it be a stepping stone. Just the order has to be changed. I will tell you one story. It happened that a man was in search and he came upon a man on the path who said, "There is a well hidden in the caves. Go there and ask a question. If you sincerely ask, the well replies. It's a miracle only known to great adepts." The man searched. It was difficult to reach to the well, but somehow he reached. Lying down in the well, he asked, "What is life?" No reply came. The well only echoed. He repeated his question, and the well repeated, "What is life?" But the man was really sincere, so he continued. It is said for 3 times, day and night, he asked again and again, "What is life?" And the well only resounded his own voice. But he was not tired. He continued, "If you work with the mind for many, many days, years, the mind will not give you the key. It will simply resound you. But a sincere seeker goes on and on and on. He is not tired." After 3 days, it is said the well realized that the man was sincere and that he was not going to go. So the well said, "Okay, I will tell you what life is. Go to the town nearby. Visit the first 3 shops and come back and report." The man was puzzled because what type of answer was this? But okay, if the well says it has to be done. He went to the town and visited the first 3 shops, but he was even more puzzled and bewildered. There was nothing. In the first shop, there were a few people working with some metal pieces. He went into the next shop. A few other people were there and they were preparing some strings. Into the third shop he went. It was a carpenter's shop and people were working with wood. He said to himself, "This is life." He went back to the well and said, "What do you mean? I went there, I visited. This is my report, but I don't see the point." The well said, "Now I have shown you the path. You travel it. Someday you will see the point. I have indicated the way. Now you go on it." The seeker was simply angry and said, "This has been a deception. What have I gained by asking this well for 3 days continuously? What have I gained by putting my heart with such sincerity before the well? This has been a deception. I have not gained anything." Frustrated, he went away. After many years of wandering, he came near a garden one day. It was a moon night, a full moon night, and somebody was playing a sitar. He was enchanted. The magic worked. As if pulled by a magnet, he came into the garden. He didn't ask permission. He went up to the player, and the man was deep in his meditation, playing on the sitar. He sat there, he listened. In the moonlight, he looked at the man, the instrument. He had never seen that instrument before. Suddenly, he realized that those carpenters were working on things like this. They were preparing sitars, and the people who are working on metal, those pieces were also on the sitar and the strings. Suddenly, as if the clouds disappeared and there was a breakthrough, he started dancing. The musician became aware. He stopped the music, but now nobody can stop the dance of the seeker. The musician asked, "What is the matter? What has happened to you?" The man said, I have understood. Life has everything. Just a new combination is needed. I looked into three shops. Everything was there, but there was no sitar. Everything was separate, and order was needed. Everything was in echoes. Everything was there. Whatsoever was needed was there. Just a synthesis, just a unity was needed. And such beautiful music comes out of it. Life has everything. Now I have understood. Just a new order is needed. You have everything that you need. God never sends anybody as a beggar into the world. Everybody is born an emperor but lives like a beggar, not knowing how to arrange things. Mind should be the servant, consciousness should be the master, and then the instrument is ready, and then a great music is possible. And there comes a moment when the instrument is not needed at all. It is said that whenever a musician becomes perfect, he throws the sitar because then it is useless, because then the inner music has come in. The outer sitar just help to move within words. Whenever an archer is perfect, he throws the bows. Then there is no need for it. Whenever there is perfection, it becomes unconditional. First, make the sitar of your life and then be able to retire the mind completely. Then you have gone beyond the circle of birth and death, and that's what God is. That is what this beautiful story is saying to remind me so that I don't fall again and again a victim of the old pattern, mind the master, and myself the servant, to remind me that I am the master. The story of the three fools. Man is always pretending that which he is not. That is a way of hiding oneself. When you listen with perfect awareness, then listening becomes possible. Hearing is just like eating without tasting. You can fill the belly, but deep down the hunger remains. The body may be satisfied, even overloaded, but the subtle hunger remains. Because it can be satisfied only when you become capable of taste. But to taste a thing is to be aware, alert. Listen to it. The story is one of the most wonderful I have ever come across. It is a Hasidic story. It says that there was a very great city. It appeared great to those who lived in it. In fact, it was not bigger than a small saucer. The houses of the city were skyscrapers, and the people who were the dwellers, they claimed that their housetops almost just touched the sky. But to those who were not deluded, the height of the city looked not more than that of an onion. In that city, people of 10 cities were assembled, millions of people, but to those who could count, there were only 3 fools in that city, not a single person more. The first fool was a great thinker. He was a great system maker, a metaphysician, almost an Aristotle. He could talk about anything. He could ask him, and he had ready made answers. It was spread in the town. The rumor was in the town that he was the greatest seer. Of course, he was absolutely blind. He could not see the Himalayas just in front of his eyes, but he could count the legs of the ants crawling on the moon. And he was absolutely blind, but he was a logic chopper. He saw things which nobody had ever seen: God, angels, heaven, and hell. He was very condemnatory of the mundane world which could be seen. He was always appreciating the unseen, which he only could see the nobody else could see. The second man used to hear the music of the spheres. He used to hear the dancing atoms. the harmony of existence, but he was stone deaf. And the third fool, the third man, was absolutely naked. He had nothing. He was the poorest man who had ever existed, except that he had a sword which he always carried on guard. He was always afraid. He was paranoid, afraid that somebody was going to rob him someday. Of course, he had nothing. They all conferred because there was a rumor that their city was in a deep crisis. All the three fools who were thought to be very wise were asked to go deep into the phenomena. It is true that the city is in danger, some crisis is coming, some future catastrophe. The blind man looked into the far horizon and said, "Yes, I can see thousands of soldiers of the enemy country coming. I cannot only see them, I can count how many there are. I can see to which race and to which religion they belong." The deaf man listened silently, brooded, and said, "Yes, I can hear what they are saying, and I can also hear what they are not saying and hiding in their hearts." The beggar jumped, the third fool jumped, took his sword in his hand, and said, "I am afraid they are going to rob us. This is your story. Think about it, move around, and penetrate deeper into it. This is the story of man. Man is always pretending that which he is not. That is a way of hiding oneself. The ugly man tries to look beautiful. The man who is in anguish tries to look happy. The man who doesn't know anything tries to prove that he knows all. This is how it goes on, and unless you become aware of these three fools within you, you will never become a sage. To go beyond the three fools, one becomes the true sage. Five idiots carrying the boat on their heads. If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him immediately. What about you? How do I both love you and kill you? Do the same to me. First try to find me, and then, when you have found me, kill me immediately, because that is how you will attain to your own perfection. Even if I am there, the duality will remain. An object in the mind is a disturbance. Drop that object also. When you have killed me, you have completely followed me. When I have disappeared only, then will you be graceful to me. Buddha used to say that once it happened, 5 idiots were traveling. They came to a big river. They purchased a small boat. They crossed the river. Then they thought, "This boat is wonderful. It has helped us to come across the river. Otherwise, it would not have been possible for us to cross it. So, we should be grateful to it." So, they carried the boat on their heads into the marketplace. People inquired, "What is the matter? Why are you carrying this boat?" They said, "We are very grateful. This boat helped us to cross the river. Otherwise, we would still have been on the other shore. Now, we can never leave it." Buddha said, "Always remember that the master is a boat. Cross the river, but don't carry the boat on the head. Otherwise, one who was going to free you will become your bondage." That is how, when a boat is carried, the boat of Christ is carried. You become a Christian, not a Christ. If you drop the boat, you become a Christ. If you carry the boat, you become a Christian. If you drop the boat of Buddha, you become a Buddha yourself. If you carry the boat, you become a Buddhist, which is foolishness. So don't be one of those 5 idiots. Love me only to drop me one day, and love me so deeply that you can drop without any grudge without any clinging, without any complaint. Buddha was dying. When you come closer to yourself, you become closer to me, because in the innermost being, the center is one. If you have accepted me as your master, then you have to understand what I am saying. If you have accepted me as your master, then the only way for you is to know yourself. Forget about me, move within words. One day, when you will be standing in your own total glory, in the magnificence of your inner being, in the inner light, there you will find me, not as a separate being, not as an object, but as the very innermost core of your own self. It is reported. Buddha was dying, and Ananda started weeping and crying, his oldest disciple and the most clinging one. For 40 years he had been with Buddha and he had not attained, he had not realized himself yet. He loved Buddha too much. If you love too much, remember always, anything that is too much becomes part of the mind. Only balance is transcending mind. Anything that is too much becomes part of the mind. He loved Buddha too much. The love was not a freedom, it had become a bondage. Anything of the too much is a bondage. And now that Buddha is dying, his whole life is ruined. Ananda cries and weeps like a small child whose mother is dying. And Buddha stops him and says, "What, Ananda, are you doing?" He looks at Buddha with tear-filled eyes and says, "Now where will I see you? Where will I seek you?" And Buddha laughed and he said, "That has been my whole teaching. For 40 years, that is what I have been telling you, that whenever you want to see me, look within. Apodipo bhava, be a light unto yourself. There inside you, you will find me. If you clinging to the outside, it may be a Buddha, a Jesus, but you cling to the world, because the outside is the world. Your own innermost interior is the transcendental, more within words, and you come closer to me. Come closer to me, and you go far from yourself. Try to understand this paradox. If you try to become closer to me, you will go further from yourself. And how can you come closer to me if you are going further from yourself? Come closer to yourself and you come closer to me, because how is it otherwise possible? When you come closer to yourself, you come close to me, because in the innermost being, the center is one. On the periphery, we differ. On the periphery, I am an individual, you are an individual. The move within words brings these peripheral points closer and closer and closer. And when you exactly reach to the center of your being, there is no duality. The two have disappeared, the two-ness has disappeared.